This podcast contains descriptions of sexual abuse that could be disturbing to some. Please use discretion when listening.
Tonight, a Cincinnati priest is in jail after being indicted on 9 counts of rape. Father Geoff Drew is accused of raping an altar boy 3 decades ago. Drew was placed on leave from St. Ignatius last month. If convicted, he faces life in prison.
Almost exactly 7 years ago, on August 19, 2019, a warrant was issued for the arrest of Father Geoff Drew. A Hamilton County grand jury had just indicted him for the repeated rape of an altar boy. Unbeknownst to Drew, he got up early to start his busy day, visiting his mother, hearing a confession, and meeting another priest for lunch.
Once we learned that the indictment came down and that it was going to be these 9 counts of rape, we sent officers over there, and the initial intent was to sit on his property. But when they pulled in their lot and they see him leaving, they immediately see that it's Drew, and they follow the car, call for that traffic stop. I think it was District 1 officers stopped him and placed him in custody, because at that point he would have had the open warrants.
That's retired Cincinnati Police Detective Dana Jones. She led the case against Drew and is speaking publicly for the first time about it to warn the public that at age 64, he is still very dangerous. Drew ultimately spent 7 years in prison and was released on August 17th. I'm WCPO 9 I-Team reporter Paula Christian, and this is What They Knew, the Father Geoff Drew investigation.
So he's transported to our office where, after we conducted the search of his property at St. Anthony, is that what it's called?
St. Anthony Friary.
Yeah, Friary. We responded back to, we had his car towed for impound, and then we responded back to my office where he had been waiting. And Detective Conforti with Green Township and I attempted to interview him, but he immediately said that he didn't want to speak because he had the attorney. So we really weren't able to question him, but I was able to put the cuffs on him and escort him out into the police car, where I knew that his freedom was going to be taken for a while. I assumed that it was.
Detective Jones took these photos of Drew that day, showing him in handcuffs and getting into the back of a police car.
I wouldn't say that he was nervous, just calm, and knew that he wasn't going to talk. It was kind of uneventful, but satisfying.
Drew was concerned about his diabetes and making sure he had insulin in jail. Detective Jones made sure that was taken care of.
How did it feel to put the handcuffs on him?
I thought of Paul. I thought of Paul the entire time.
Paul Nyer was the victim who had the courage to come forward and report his sexual abuse. He was 9, 10, and 11 years old in the 1980s and 1990s. And Drew was the music director at St. Jude in Bridgetown on Cincinnati's west side. Coincidentally or karmically, Nyer went to police about his abuse in late July of 2019, just as Drew was getting in trouble for his behavior with boys again. The Archdiocese of Cincinnati put Drew on leave 4 weeks before his arrest after he texted a teenage boy at St. Ignatius of Loyola, where he was the pastor. It launched a media firestorm.
At this point, this case is a major case. I mean, the publicity that this case is getting is... Do you remember all of that?
I couldn't let that get in my head.
Yeah.
I kept doing it, investigating it as if it was another case of mine. I didn't want to think about how enormous it is or could be.
The case had already taken so many twists and turns that Jones wasn't expecting any more surprises after Drew's arrest. But then police got a search warrant for Drew's car, a 2017 Ford Escape, cobalt blue. They discovered a few bottles of liquor in a cardboard box, including an expensive Macallan 12 scotch, his passport and birth certificate, and roughly 20 pairs of unpackaged Hanes underwear.
It was the oddest thing to find. Why are you driving around with your passport and birth certificate? Bottles of wine, unopened bottles of alcohol, and then loose, 20 or more pairs of loose underwear I think some of them, the underwear was, freely open and out, and then some were in like a Kroger bag. One could assume that he may have thought about fleeing or been prepared to flee if he had to.
Have you seen anything like that before?
Never, never. And then I wondered, given the circumstances of the investigation, sex with boys, there wasn't clothes, so it wasn't like he had a packed bag or a packed luggage. Was that standard, the underwear in the car standard for him to change out of if you had to in a hurry or to avoid the trace of evidence? It was disturbing.
Drew's arrest led local newscasts on August 19th, 2019. It caught the attention of a man who was at a bar after work. He saw Drew on TV. Then he called the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office the next morning.
I'm calling about a case you guys have going on with a guy named Geoff Drew. I'm 45 years old. I went to St. Jude School, and I had an issue with a man when I was a young man. And I was 4 yesterday when I seen the news. Seen that he was being prosecuted for these kind of acts that he had pulled on me when I was young. So I was just, the only other person that knew about it was my girlfriend, and she told me to give you, she got me this number, so she told me to call you. So that's what I'm doing.
Detective Jones and Green Township Detective James Conforti interviewed the second alleged victim on August 31st. He was extremely nervous and had trouble staying on topic.
I was an altar boy, all right? So
Okay.
I did 5:30 masses and like that. And he was, at that time, he was a pianist. And he actually became the music teacher, I tell you, so he could get this over with.
Okay.
The man molested me, all right? He put his hands down my pants and he played with himself, and that's it. And that's all I got to say, all right?
He said the abuse occurred 4, 5, or 6 times in the undercroft of St. Jude Church in the mid-1980s when he was in the 5th and 6th grade. When Drew tried to take it to a more serious level, he said he fought him off by crying.
What I'm trying to tell you is I was probably one of his first little guys.
You said that on the phone.
I know so, because it's been bothering me all my life. I've been drinking ever since. I'm a total raving alcoholic. I've been in trouble with the law and everything else, and only because of my drinking. And I've been drinking ever since that point in time.
He says he never told anyone about the abuse until he told his girlfriend after seeing Drew on TV. But Jones, who specialized in child sex abuse cases, sensed that he was holding back.
My suspicion, and I could be totally wrong, is that more happened than this. This guy, he wasn't a person, it doesn't seem like, based off the people that we've talked to, he didn't discriminate. He didn't stop. He would target and go in for the kill. With the other guy, there was penetration. That's what he said happened to him. And he said it was oral, and he said there was anal penetration. Did any of that happen to you? It's okay. It's okay.
He dropped his head in his hands and began to sob.
Look, it's time to go.
We're here for you, man.
I know. It's time to go.
We're here.
It's time to go. It's time to go. That's over. It's time to go.
But this pattern is going to help us to ensure that he is never going to be able to do this to anybody else. And that's why your statement is so important to me. I don't want this guy ever to be out and to hurt anybody else. You could help other people by coming forward and saying A, B, and C happen.
We ain't got to do this all at once. I'm scared, all right? And I'm nervous, and now I'm a nervous wreck. This is humiliating for me.
Yes.
Do you understand that?
3 months later, police interviewed him again in November of 2019. This time, he said Drew performed oral sex on him several times, at least once when he was standing next to Drew's open car door in the grade school parking lot. Then he stopped the interview and asked to come back later. Detective Jones thought it might help him if he spoke to Paul Nyer. She put Nyer on speakerphone in the small police interview room.
Sir, can you hear my voice?
I can. Hello.
Man, I want to tell you, for you to come forward is just, I know What's your feeling?
Nair didn't share details about his case. He just tried to help.
Man, I 100% empathize if there's something that happened to you. It did, and I'm sorry. That wasn't of God. That was definitely of a man that wronged you in the ways he did, but you are an extremely brave dude for stepping forward and whatever you're telling these detectives. I don't doubt you. I know it's hard. I know it's probably one of the hardest things you've ever had to do in your life.
Nair said that he debated suicide when he was 14 years old.
I'll tell you, I feel your pain. I don't know your story. I don't know your case, but one day I may be able to sit after this whole thing and tell you, okay, I get it, man, but you are brave, and I thank you for stepping forward.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me a little, I am scared, and I'm trying to be as honest as possible.
It's okay.
I thought that my family was going to disown me. I thought that they were going to, feel I was a liar. I thought that people would look at me crazy, and the reality is it's been just the opposite.
Nair said after some time, he's in a good place mentally now.
I turned this shit over to God. I mean, a real God, a loving God that is pissed. I mean, he doesn't want this shit in his church.
Nair said he turned to a global support group, SNAP, the Survivors Network for those abused by priests, for help.
The worst part about this whole thing, man, is I can close my eyes and see certain things I never wanted to see again. And I start to see new things, and I start to hear and remember smells. And it's part of it. I mean, it's part of it. But eventually it passes. You'll remember it. It'll always be a part of your life, but the pain will pass.
The reason I stepped up is because I thought about it, like, when I first heard about it, that was the first thing that went through my mind. Like, oh my gosh, how long has this been going on for? And I can almost guarantee you that I was probably one of the first.
Same here. But regardless if you were first, last, middle, it doesn't matter. It's been continuous. I know we weren't the last. But what we're doing is we're protecting others. That's what men do. And your story is going to protect others.
Then Nair asked if he could pray for him.
Father, thank you for the shield of armor that you have put on this man and the broad shoulders that you have given this man over the years to carry the weight that he has, for ultimately your time being your time, for us to come forward in a moment of bravery, protect children in your church. Lord, I ask that you just bless him from head to toe with strength. Give him the ability to speak. Let your words be his words. And Lord, give him the courage to continue the fight and know what he is doing is right. Amen.
Amen.
Detective Jones said Nair and the other man who came forward were two of the strongest people she had ever met. But listening to this second man's story was one of the most difficult parts of the case.
The pain is so severe for him. His life, at the moment, I think that the abuse occurred, the trajectory just turned. His life was never the same. It's hard to talk about today for me. It was so sad, the effects of that abuse that it had on him over his life. But then all the people that came forward, especially after the press release, the many calls of people who either witnessed, experienced something at the hands of Drew.
After police arrested Drew, later that same day, then Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters held a press conference.
It's a sad, sickening case, I'll tell you that. And it's incredible that somebody with that type of authority would prey on little children.
Dieters urged anyone with information to come forward. Meanwhile, police searched Drew's computers and phone for evidence. Nair told police that he remembered Drew had taken a photo of him during one instance of sexual abuse decades ago. Police never found it, but they did find plenty of other photos.
What did you find on his phone?
Hundreds of photographs of men, none that instantly appeared to be underage, but young men in different states of undress, touching themselves, light sexual act. There were a couple, one picture that was a selfie that was sent to him from a boy that had just graduated, and I want to say that he maybe went to college or was going to spend his first year away in college in maybe Chicago. And the text messages, thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of text messages.
Drew was constantly reaching out to his former students, asking to meet for lunch or dinner or for an overnight visit.
But one of them was Drew reaching out to that boy, saying that, oh yeah, I'll come see you, I'll visit you, I'd love to see the campus. You know, to this young boy starting his life first year in college.
Drew also repeatedly used religion and prayer as conversation starters in texts like these. I thought about you at Mass this morning. I prayed for you. Sorry to text you so late, but as I was praying, you kept coming to my mind. All is well? Hope all is well. You were very much on my mind this morning during Holy Hour. We should catch up soon. God bless.
What do you think he's really doing here?
Making himself available. And these are men. I don't remember seeing many. If there was a female that he was in conversation with, it was usually the mother of somebody who had a teenage son. It was a female. That was the only females I ever remember seeing.
How is he using religion as a tool in this?
You would think that was so genuine and sincere from somebody legit. Like it would almost make you feel special. Oh my gosh. But it was just a tool that he used to lure people in.
Drew tried to get out of the Hamilton County Jail, but Judge Leslie Giz set a staggering $5 million bond. Drew's attorney, Brandon Moorman, repeatedly tried to lower it, saying that excessive bond is an abuse of his constitutional right to a reasonable bond. But the judge denied his requests. So did the Ohio Court of Appeals. Meanwhile, police were monitoring Drew's telephone calls in jail.
The jail calls he's getting, what are those like?
A handful of people, including his mother, supporters, people that know that he's going to clear his name and give him total support. It was a lot of conversation about Bible, getting him a Bible, and religious talk, spiritual talk. And that it's him saying that he was innocent. It was mostly that. It wasn't a whole lot of calls. I don't think that a lot of people were putting money on his books to make calls.
When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, Drew's attorney said his bond should be lowered because he was literally fearful of his life in jail due to his higher risk of getting sick. But the judge still said no. Drew stayed in jail while his case slowly moved toward trial.
The focus in court on Tuesday was who Judge Leslie Giz would allow to testify for the prosecution. Hamilton County Assistant Prosecutor Catherine Pridemore presented new details about a second alleged victim of Drew's 3 decades ago.
Both the children were males. Both were under the age of 13. Both were students at St. Jude at the same time period.
Drew was not charged with sexually assaulting the second alleged victim because the statute of limitations had run out. But prosecutors still wanted him to testify at the trial for Neyer's rape to prove that Drew had a common plan to commit crimes against boys.
Judge Giz ruled that the second alleged sexual assault victim of Drew and additional witnesses will be allowed to testify to the priest's character at trial.
Several St. Jude students could testify. So could an Elder High School student who went on the trip with Drew in the late 1980s and shared a single hotel room. The judge also allowed the testimony of a priest who saw Drew rubbing on young children and loading up a station wagon with teenagers for a trip.
Do you think there was enough evidence to convict him at trial?
Yes, without a doubt. The interview with Paul alone was so convincing and so compelling. If there was nothing else other than his testimony, I would be confident that a conviction would have occurred. But the investigation, went on, so there was so much more after Paul's interview the second victim coming forward in his horrific interview.
Police tried to interview this second alleged victim again, but Detective Conforti wrote in his report that he became uncooperative and did not respond to further contact. I asked Mark Pietmeyer about this in 2024. He was the first assistant prosecutor then under Dieters. He told me the witness victim did agree to testify, but shortly before trial, he disappeared on us and we were not able to locate him. He never contacted us, even though he knew about the trial date and had told us he would appear and testify. On December 3rd, 2021, after months of delay, attorneys were finally ready to pick a jury for Drew's trial. But that never happened.
Cincinnati Catholic priest accused of raping an altar boy has pleaded guilty to all charges. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kristen Swilley. WCPO 9 News Chief Investigative Reporter Craig Cheatham is live at the Hamilton County Courthouse this afternoon. Craig, you have followed this case from the start. What can you tell us?
Kristen, Drew pleaded guilty to all 9 counts of rape for the repeated sexual assaults of an altar boy 30 years ago at St. Jude in Green Township.
A day before jury selection was set to begin, a surprise plea deal was announced on December 2nd, 2021, to the shock of reporters who had been covering the case.
I didn't see it coming, and I don't think anyone else saw it coming.
That's former WCPO 9 I-Team reporter Craig Cheatham. He covered this case since Drew's arrest in 2019.
The thing that surprised me the most was how quickly it appeared they made a deal. The deal that was made and how little prison time he was going to get for repeatedly raping and molesting a boy decades ago. I mean, it just was, I didn't expect it. I actually thought he would get the book thrown at him. I did. I thought he'd get at least 20 years.
It also came as a shock to Detective Jones, who didn't find out about the plea deal until that morning, which she said had never happened to her before in more than 2 decades as a police officer and a detective.
Do you remember how you felt when you heard about it?
Angry and bamboozled. I was angry. I love the prosecutor's office in so many ways, but I was angry about that one. Why I didn't know, why I wasn't consulted. Somebody else's memory may be different, but that is what I remember happening.
Had that ever happened to you before?
Never.
Nair met with her at her office and told her that he had met with prosecutors about the plea deal. She believes it was the day beforehand.
Throughout the investigation, I took care of the main victim. I would have him meet me at my office. I would transport him to court. I would transport him to interviews. I made sure he was taken care of, because the last thing I wanted with somebody who was that sensitive and that vulnerable would be for him to get re-victimized in the court system. So I made sure I was with him at every step. And without my knowledge, there was a meeting set up, referenced that plea, and I wasn't a part of that.
Did you ever talk to the prosecutors?
Never.
So you don't really know why they extended that offer?
I don't.
On the day of the plea, Detective Jones grabbed a photo from her case jacket of Nair when he was 9 or 10 years old, a printed 8x10 copy.
I took that with me because I'm learning that this is going to be a plea. I wasn't aware of this. I tell Paul that I'll meet you. We met. He got in my car. We sat and talked. His wife was in the back seat. And I pulled that picture out because Paul was like, I can't do this. This is hard. This is going to be difficult. I don't know what to say. And so I pulled that picture out. And that picture gave Paul such strength that he knew he could do it. So when we walked to the courthouse, Paul's very emotional. His wife is very supportive. But Paul got to speak, and when he spoke, he held up that picture. And
this is some of what Nair said in court that day.
You ruined a majority of my life. I believed I wasn't worthy of love. This flooded me, and I was furious. I forgive you, but nobody will ever forget.
Nair's wife also spoke in court.
You were taking your demons and attaching them to innocent children for them to carry forever. In the last 2 years, I have watched my husband ride the most terrifying roller coaster that exists, and one that you were driving. In my eyes, no time in prison is enough. But something bigger and more important happens today with this plea. Today, that roller coaster of torment and heartache that you have driven comes to a screeching halt.
Judge Leslie Giz reluctantly accepted the guilty plea, but said if Drew had gone to trial and had been convicted, she was prepared to sentence him to prison for the rest of his life.
The rape of a child under the cloak of the church is stomach churning. This is shameful, just shameful. It's shameful for the church, it's shameful for you. And I will tell you this, I believe in the afterlife. I believe that God is a forgiving God, but I truly believe that he's going to think twice when he sees you at the gates of heaven. I certainly hope he would, because you don't belong where I'm going to be one day and where your victim is going to be one day. You don't belong there.
Drew never made eye contact with Nair or his wife, and while Nair got to hear Drew say the word guilty, that's all he said.
Drew declined to make a statement at the plea hearing. The judge had asked him if he had anything to say, and he said that he didn't. What that means is that after pleading guilty to repeatedly raping a child, Drew refused to say the words, "I'm sorry." Drew received credit for the 27 months he spent in jail since his arrest. That means he'll be released from prison before his 65th birthday.
In court, Geoff Drew never apologized.
No.
He never said anything other than guilty.
That is it. One time, guilty, one word, end of it.
What did it mean to you that Geoff Drew did not apologize? Did that surprise you?
No, I was just going to say I wasn't surprised at all, because I think he has a reputation, a persona to uphold. So just like I said earlier, in those jail calls, when he's saying that he's going to take the plea, basically not because he is guilty, but because he wants to avoid a bigger, longer sentence. But that arrogance and selfishness, and he's not sorry. He's not sorry.
8 months later, former I-Team reporter Craig Cheatham sat down with Nair and his wife for an interview. They talked about that plea deal.
I wanted 32 years, an eye for an eye. The years that I've struggled through this entire thing, I give back to you. It's your turn. And then we sat on it, and like 16. It was just getting extended and extended and extended and delayed and delayed. And I'm like, how do I get this over? Going through the case, emotionally, you're like this. Now, when it came down to it, I wanted to hear him say he was guilty. It was for me. I got to hear him say he was guilty. And again, like I said, that's the only accountability that's ever popped out of that church. And that's sad.
Nair's wife, Liesl, said the case took a terrible toll on her husband.
There were points where, it was absolute living hell trying to help him navigate all of this, and to watch him every time that the case got delayed, him spiraling, and that just built up every time before something happened. And then it came down to basically watching him make the decision of going through a trial and the questioning and everything that I've already watched him go through, or to take a few years just so that they could hear him say guilty. And that's really what it came down to.
As the case dragged on for more than 2 years, she got a call from the prosecutor's office about the final continuance of the trial.
The prosecutor's office called me. He was out of town, and they were trying to call him to let him know that the case was going to be delayed again the last time. And I broke down on the phone and I said, I don't think you guys understand. You're not going to have a victim if this keeps happening. He can't keep going through this. And he said, well, no, it's okay. We'll be able to get through it. And I said, no, I don't think you understand. I don't think he's going to be alive. You're not here laying next to him every night. You're not the one that watches him actually have to go through this. You get to make a phone call and say, hey, it's going to be delayed. We understand and we're sorry. But you don't understand. You have no idea what it put him through.
Coming up next time, you'll hear what happened when Nair met with the Archdiocese and what Drew's life will be like now that he's a free man once again. I'm WCPO 9 I-Team reporter Paula Christian, and this is What They Knew, the Father Geoff Drew Investigation.